things we said. Oh yeah. And maybe we'd be better off being just friends. Oh yeah. It's getting kinda obvious what you want from me. Only calling when you feel alone. You make promises, then you let them go. So if you just wanna have my body, you better go find somebody else.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our community, our conversation, heavily focused on the LGBTQ community. Christine is taking a little break tonight, so I'll be hosting and kind of leading the guys in. And so on the 5F to Love Network, you're going to have to bear with me tonight because it's my first time and she just sprung it on me like a little hot potato here. So I'm going to be bringing Scott on, but just before that, our conversations will be about right-wing politics and the LGBTQ community. It's hard to believe, but there's some of us out there. And I think a lot of them are afraid to come talk to me directly about it because I've kicked them off all my social media platforms. But I think that it's a worthwhile conversation. And we have an amazing guest coming on tonight later. But I'd like to bring Scotty on. So Scotty, where you at?
Hey, Jessie.
Hi, honey.
How are you?
Good. How are you? You're looking so good.
You look great, always.
You got
your first time up at the mic tonight.
I know. She's pretty brave to just throw me up like this, right?
You got it.
I'm excited for us. So now, are we going to move on to Kairi? Dr. K.
Hey, Jessie, how's it going?
Hi, honey.
Congratulations.
Pound chicken, wow.
Wow.
Let me see those biceps. He came on earlier. He was like, oh.
I know. Okay, I feel overdressed.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I'm so.
Are you excited? Are you ready to host tonight?
I'm excited. I mean, I get to say some shit, talk about some people that, I'll keep last names out like Christina always wants us to. But yeah, I find the topic fascinating. It's kind of like that Candace Owen cunt that's on TV all the time. You know who that is?
She's the worst.
Oh, and her whole history is like how she got the money to be on a platform in the first place is because the NAACP gave her money to sue some people for racial discrimination. So she used that money to get back to like kick us all in the teeth. I don't know. Every time I see her, I want to punch her in the vagina. But anywho, so are we ready to do you guys want to say anything else about anything like that? Candace, any of that craziness?
I didn't know that story. I had never heard that.
I didn't know about that either. That was new to me.
Oh yeah, she's a super right-wing activist, and some of the people that I'm
definitely not a fan, but I had never heard that backstory.
Yeah, and it makes me crazy. A lot of my Trump supporting acquaintances or used to be friends will say, "Well, that Candace is fabulous. That Candace is gorgeous. I mean, I don't know why you have a problem." I'm like,
she's a nice looking lady.
Yeah, but she's an asshole on the inside. She has no soul.
Yeah.
She should die. I shouldn't say that online.
Don't say.
I take it back. I don't want her to die. I don't want to go to jail. FBI coming after my ass.
So I guess we're going to go to commercial.
Yeah, let's go to commercial and bring on our guest.
Already time for commercial?
Who's the guest?
Flies.
It's a surprise.
Are we going on? My name is Christine Burkett, the inventor of the 5 F's to Love. This is a compatibility app. It's an app that gives you an opportunity to rate words that start with the letter F in chronological order of importance to you, to help you find your one true love, your soulmate, and the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. So after you've taken the time to rate your F's in chronological order, you send a link to the person, you just met, or the person you've been dating for quite some time. Or maybe it's the person you've been married to for 30 to 40 to 50 years. And then you compare your top 5 F's. to find out what things you have in common and things that you may perhaps need to work on. This is taking a simplistic perspective on how to find your one true love, your soulmate, the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And thank you for downloading the 5Fs app.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to our community, our conversations on the 5Fs to Love Network. I got my good husband, Scotty. Hi, baby.
Hi.
And then I got, of course, our handsome Dr. K.
Good evening
Post-workout.
to you.
Thank you so much both for being here. I know you gave up the Pistons game to be here tonight. I'm so
Well, you know what?
honored.
They haven't been doing too well.
We'll have to go together in person.
We will, yeah.
And tell everybody you're my boyfriend.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Wear our Pistons gear.
Yes. So anyway, we have a wonderful guest tonight who agreed to join us. He's not necessarily part of the LGBTQ community, but he's an ally for sure. And he works in the lab. Oh, I probably shouldn't talk about that, but some type of government. So he definitely has politics in his brain and his heart and everyday part of his life. So let's bring on Matthew.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Matt. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
So I know that a lot of people are going to want to ask because, I mean, Christine loves to talk about how handsome my guys are all the time. So I'm going to let them ooh and gaga goo over you a little bit.
Okay.
But I also want to talk about how brilliant you are and you're a wonderful family man and, you know, just huge part of your community. So do you want to talk about it a little bit? Share with us?
Sure.
What industry are you in?
So hello, everyone. I'm Matt. I am a registered lobbyist. I've been working as a lobbyist at the state and federal level for the last almost 20 years now, mostly in the healthcare sector, but also in some others. I am married, have a beautiful wife and three great children, 2 in elementary school and 1 in college. And so I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
The only other thing I would add is that, you know, I don't really give out my political affiliation much, but I'm one of those dying breeds that they call a moderate. So if you can believe there's still moderates out there, there are, and I'm one. So I'm happy to talk about this issue today. Yeah,
I love that because, you know, I mean, I'm so far left, but I'm super duper far left. But I feel like Scotty's a little bit of a moderate too. And Kairi, I'm not sure where you're at. So I kind of want to expand into that.
Depending on the issue, I float.
Yeah. Well, good. This is going to be an interesting conversation.
Some days I feel like I'm like a super liberal Republican, or I'm a very or I'm a, more moderate Democrat. It just depends. And again, it depends on the issue.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So and the issue can go from so big of a span, like from one end of the spectrum to the other. And one of the things Scotty and I were talking about earlier, we have a mutual acquaintance, and I won't go quite deep into how we know this person, but the person lives in Florida and is homosexual. And it was his dream to become a dad and get married and have babies and things like that. And he did achieve that, but he lives in a very affluent area of Florida. And there was a debate on Facebook about the Don't Say Gay bill. And he was very much for it. He's just like, I just don't want my kids learning about it. And I'm going to teach them. They have a very loving environment at home and blah, 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 blah. And he lives in a community where, you know, minimum house value is like $1 million, gated community, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I was back and forth saying, you know, there's so much out there and there's so many families where that they don't have that kind of support system. So what do you think about, do you have anybody like that in your life? Scotty?
Who, me?
Yeah. Do you have anybody like that in your life?
I mean, I would say, in general, my family is much more conservative than I am. But I mean, not to that extreme. I mean, nobody that's like that, where you have
so nobody, like you don't get into it with anyone.
Well, I mean, my parents are in their 80s, so there's only so much we're going to talk about anymore. My sister is pretty far to the right, so sometimes we get into it. But I mean, it's nothing we can't talk through. I mean, nothing like what you experienced, nothing like that.
Yeah, that makes. How about you, Dr. K?
Well, growing up, I was in school. Was anybody ever taught like sexual orientation or gender identity? I wasn't.
Not when we were growing up.
Not
No.
when I was growing up either. So I almost in a way sort of agree crazily with the
Do you?
gay bill.
Oh my God! I can't believe you just. No, I love you still.
But because I was never taught that, and we were taught sex education, but not gender roles or sexual identity. And I don't know if that's something that needs to be taught versus letting somebody just develop naturally.
Huh. Matt, what do you think? What do you think about that?
Well,
I mean, you're a dad of young kids.
I'm a dad of young kids. And I will say this. I grew up in an area that was extremely not diverse. And to be in an area like that where, as a kid growing up, and this is also, 35 years ago and things were different then. But, seeing the attitudes that people had there about race, about gender identity and things like that. And they pale in comparison to the world we live in today. But, I can tell you right now that most of the attitudes people had from where I grew up is based out of pure ignorance and lack of experience. And so growing up in that area, I learned a ton from my grandmother on my mom's side. She was very accepting of all people, which always was amazing to me for someone growing up in predominantly white areas without any of those experiences. That she literally just took people for face value, who they were. And that always amazed me. So I always had an open mind. And then, obviously I went to college. And when you go to college, you're opened up to the rest of the world and what the rest of the world looks like. And so, the bill itself in Florida, I do have a problem with it, not necessarily the details of it. I hate what it says to people. I hate the restrictions it gives. One, I hate the restrictions they put on all school districts out there and their ability to teach what they want, whether it be the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida or the new bill that they just basically banned African-American studies in Florida. What I don't like about bills like those is that I feel they're unnecessary. I like to see that there's a problem before there's a solution. And the problem with most of those are emotional arguments based on anecdotal evidence. And I think the problem with those bills is the problem that most people have with politics is that they're reactionary. They are short-term fixes to short-term issues that might actually have long-term consequences. And so I don't really care for those types of bills because I think they play to a certain aspect of the population and kind of disregard the general population and where we're going as a country as a whole.
Yeah, like you said.
Was there an issue like in Florida? Was that an issue where kids were being taught? How did that bill come about?
It wasn't, they weren't being taught, but they were, it was a conversation about when talking about like having books in schools where there's two dads versus mom and a dad, or so-and-so has two moms, like being able to have that conversation freely in schools, like prior to a certain age. So for example, this couple that I know that live in Florida and they have young kids, they're like maybe the babies are like maybe 5 and 3 or something. And they're a gay couple, live in a very exclusive community. And they're like, we want to be able to do this ourselves. But really the biggest beef I have with that is there are so many families where they can't. And I'm a mother, like I have 4 kids. My kids have been around the LGBTQ community their entire lives. And it's just a part of life, right? And it's a conversation all the time. And it's not like, Uncle Scotty with Mr. Joe tonight. And it's never like a weird thing in my house. But when they were little, it was definitely a little bit different. I was like a weirdo mom for having friends like this. I had a nanny whose name was Norman, who was super fabulous. Like he was 6'2", and he just like, I mean, my girl's hair was on point, honey. And then later on, when we got another nanny after that one retired, after we got another nanny, and I mean, we went through care.com and got him, and he was a black male, and I'm thinking, here my son's gonna have this, you know, masculine influence, so he can play basketball with him and stuff. And the first day of school, we got back, and I don't want to stereotype either, so don't anybody be mad. But I got back from work, and he was teaching my youngest how to crochet, and they had made a chocolate bundt with ganache. So but again, like it's a topic that I just feel like it's 2023 and gay people exist, and every spectrum of the rainbow exists, and it needs to be in daylight and part of everyday conversation so that kids, it's not such a weird thing anymore, you know? Okay, so, oh my gosh, I think we're going on a commercial break soon. So I guess we'll take us out. That went kind of faster than I thought, guys. Jeez. We'll go on a break and we'll be right back from our sponsors. 5Fs to...
Look at me, I'm on. 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 Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Hold up. Yeah. I'm chasing a bag, I'm racing the clock. Look at them block, watching them flop. Used to see this in my sleep. When I ain't had shit but my thoughts in the car, I really was lost. Now I'm public with the soundscapes. Niggas floss, I'm really pulling strings for the pound cake. I see you went for a puppet in the clown face for a little wage. That shit, the talk of the town is late. Still me, I never switched sides. Came a long way with the gas tank running on fumes.
Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop. Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Loving how you wind up for me. Tonight is all on me. Mash up the place for me. Yeah, yeah. She just wanna highlight. Ooh, that body talk to me. I need a taste, baby. Loving the way you move around me. No more delay. No, you can wait to shut it down. Won't you show me how you work it? I can't find no flaws, you perfect. Cause every time that you come around my way, I keep falling again. I keep falling again. And every time that you come across my mind, I keep falling again. I keep falling again. In love. Yeah.
Broken. All the plans you made in your heart grew just to die.
Okay, we're back in our community, our conversation on the 5Fs to Love Network. So we're talking about politics in the LGBTQ community, how some folks are super vocal about being conservative. And of course, I'm super far left, and I'm just finding out some of my posse over here is a little bit more conservative than I thought. So guys, I have this other question. So since a whole drag queen bingo thing started, and then it just kind of translated into drag queens reading stories in libraries and being fabulous and things like that. So y'all know where I stand. So Dr. K, what do you think?
I think it's acceptable.
You sound kind of unsure.
No, not unsure. I was trying to find my explanatory words. I think drag drag queens are like they're mainstream now. You know, they're a part of life, and they're just as normal as, say, anybody else. You know, anybody else in any other. We're all in drag. Whatever we wear is drag. Didn't RuPaul say that? Like
Shit.
we're all born the same, but whatever costume we wear, the banker's in his banking drag, the nurse is in her nursing drag. So if they want to read stories to the kids and they're doing something positive, let them be. You know, I don't
Yeah.
think kids really. I know I didn't. You don't pick up on that. You're just picking up on somebody giving you attention and, you know, being friendly, and you learn
Yeah.
and having
And somebody looking fabulous,
yeah.
right?
Right.
I mean, Matt, do you think, because of the word indoctrination is used all the time, and I read about it and I just like, my head's about to blow up. So like, Matt, have your kids seen any drag queens doing stories?
No, they have not. So I don't think it will ruin them for their life if they did.
Would you
If
take them?
anything.
Would you like go out of your, if somebody's reading a story 10 minutes from your house, would you take them?
Maybe. I'm not afraid of it. I think that's one of the problems is people are afraid of it. Maybe they're afraid of the conversation they'll have to have with their kids. My wife and I are not afraid of any conversation we'll ever have with our kids. As I mentioned before, we have a 21-year-old. Man, that kid knew so much about sex before he was a teenager. His mom, my wife, his mother is a nurse, and so he knew so much biologically about sex. That was probably the greatest deterrent for teenagers to have sex, is describing that in medical detail. But I think it's the same thing, is that have those conversations with a kid. If there's a drag queen having reading stories in the library, I think one thing gets lost in a lot of these stories is that parents don't have to send their kid to that. When it's in a school, then you have a different debate that occurs. And I think a lot of this kind of centers around books in schools. However, knowing some of those books, it depends on the severity. And, we as a society have to decide what we can tolerate and what we can't tolerate. Is a book with two dads really that threatening to our children? I don't think so. If anything, if my kid asks me a question about that, I think we can have a good conversation with my kid about that. It's almost similar to a conversation I had this weekend about my 8-year-old going to a sleepover at someone else's houses. They have different rules there. They have different rules. They have different beliefs. They have different things, and you have a conversation about them that they might not line up with our beliefs. And that's a conversation you have as your kid, and that's how they learn, and that's how they figure out for themselves what they believe. And I think a lot of this stuff is driven by fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of having those tough conversations, and it's typical of people to shy away from tough conversations.
Yeah, that's the healthiest way to go about it, I think. I think Christine said that we have some, oh my goodness, there's some comments, you guys. My healing hearts. Whoop, whoop. I agree. Start talking to children younger so it's a part of the norm. Disney has been great about casting more characters that fill a spectrum and walks of life. How cool is that? That's
Hey,
amazing.
Scott,
Thank you.
What about with your kids?
Yeah.
My kids? Oh,
Well,
Scott, go ahead. I'm sorry.
drag queens, I mean, they're old enough now that never came up. But I mean, going back to what you said, it's mainstream now. I mean, these are things that happen in everyday life. And I think when people don't want to talk about it, they're afraid, they're ignorant, they don't know how to talk about it. I mean, this is just teaching your children about things that are different in life that they might not otherwise, have the opportunity to talk about or see. I think it's great. I don't think there's any harm in it. I do think in schools, parents have a choice if they want to have their kids exposed to that. I think that's another conversation. But, having them in libraries, have at it. I think it's great.
I do too. I think if a 5-year-old is at a library watching a drag queen read a show, and then somehow the child said, is that drag queen a man? And then somebody will say, well, maybe probably that's a drag performer. Yeah, it's a conversation to have with your kid. And it said, does he have a penis? And they're gonna be like, you're gonna kind of like, if they saw you, it would be inappropriate to ask you, Scott, if you have a penis. It'd be inappropriate for a child to say, what's in your pants?
right?
I mean, I would say, fuck you, you little fucker. It's none of your business. But obviously I wouldn't say that. I would just, I mean, we have to call a spade and call people out when they're being discriminatory. And it does
Right.
includes children, I think. I mean,
Right.
obviously it has to do with conversations in their home and respect the boundaries and whatnot. But at this point, it's about humanity. You
You're
know,
right. The child wouldn't say that up to a heterosexual person.
never.
Yeah.
A child wouldn't say if a child has two daddies. Is your daddy putting his penis in your mouth? I mean, they're never gonna do that. It's the adults in their lives that are putting these ideas into their heads.
Mhm.
And who the fuck is indoctrinating these kids anyways? It's not gay. It's not drag queens. I don't think.
No, kids
So
are much
now,
more logical and
go ahead. I'm
rational.
sorry.
Kids are much more logical and logical and what's the word I was looking for? Anyway, they look at things differently than we do, right? The way a parent would think about it, children think completely different. And I think that's what we forget, right?
I think so too. And then one of the questions that somebody just roped in, and which I think is kind of a no-brainer, but it's 2023 and people surprise me all the time. So from your perspective, do you guys feel like the LGBTQ community leans more conservative or the Democratic Party?
Oh, that's easy.
Democratic for sure.
I think it's Democratic, but I also think that is more of the construct of our parties today and less of what the parties were previously. Maybe not necessarily on this issue, but with, I mentioned at the beginning that I'm a dying breed as a moderate. In our national televised politics, there's not many moderates that are shown these days. And
I feel like it's theater, community theater at best.
It is. It's a lot of it's theater. I always tell people if you see them on TV a lot, that means they're not actually doing the work for you. They just want to be on TV. But for a lot of our things, and not just this issue, multiple issues, it's become you're either with us or against us. And that it wasn't always that way. And I thought when the gay marriage bans were struck down in this country 10 years ago, we had a lull. We actually had a lull where these issues like the Florida law didn't come up. And I think for a lot of conservatives, that was a welcome thing. They didn't have to discuss this issue. It wasn't the wedge issue talking about should we have gay marriage or shouldn't we anymore. And really, it's just come back in the last 5 years or so as this issue again with what you brought up with the libraries and folks like that. So I think it really is more to do with where our politics are. If you're a Republican, you almost have to be pro-life now. You almost can't be too openly and accepting of gay life, gay culture, things like that. And I think that's the real problem, is that we have segment off and have not allowed that diversity of thought within the political parties themselves.
Yeah. And that leads me to this other question that I had. So how has your friendships and social circles changed since the Trump era? Because mine certainly has. I had a whole group of people, actually my ex-husband, who was a Black man, was relatively conservative. And even though he wasn't a fan of Trump, I mean, we had met Trump on several occasions. And every time we would go up to him or like be introduced, he would shake our hand and say, instead of whoever's standing next to him, he would be like, what an attractive Black couple. Every fucking time this asshole would do that. I'm just like, are you serious? And so on a personality front, we all kind of thought he was a bit of a buffoon. So the whole presidential thing, we just never thought was going to happen. So when it actually happened, we really started to see how people really thought about things. And I really started to see around my own circle. And the landscape of my friendships have changed. So I'd like to know, like, Scotty, has yours changed?
Not really. I mean, other than some of the same crossover friends that you and I have had in the past who have shown, far different personalities than we knew them to certainly be before. More so my family. I mean, my family are my parents were Trump supporters, still are Trump supporters. Would they vote for him again? I don't know. My brother and I are not. My sister is. So, we have some healthy conversations at holidays and things like that. But, social circles, mine hasn't changed a whole lot. with the whole Trump era. I would say my family dynamics have changed more than anything. Lots of healthy conversations that have ended dramatically, let's say.
Okay. Matt, how about you?
Some. I mean, the Trump era came in, and my wife and I quit our Facebook and Twitter pages at that.
I bet. Yeah.
And as I mentioned before, coming from a very non-diverse area, obviously it's very, very large amount of Trump supporters out there, including many, many family members. I would say it's actually been harder on my parents than me because they still live over there. They still have brothers, sisters that they deal with on a daily basis and have to deal with that. So, in their circles, and interestingly enough, my parents became even more liberal, and they were not liberal. They were very independent. My dad was even probably a Republican in the 90s. Trump pushed him so hard to the left. It's amazing. And it did strain some of his relationships, which is sad to see. I mean, those are relationships of, 60 years that he had, and it did strain him. So, for me personally, it didn't strain too many of my relationships. I know many Republicans, but most of them are moderates anyway, weren't huge Trump fans to begin with. But I thought it was interesting to see the effect that the Trump era had on my parents being in their 60s and dealing with family and friends from around them.
That's amazing that your parents are able to change like that. How about you, Dr. K?
My social circle didn't change. Actually, my best friend, he is a Trump supporter. Yeah,
Is he gay?
No, he's not gay.
Damn it! I was.
He's a black male. And
He's a black male.
Yeah,
See that?
Went to high school together. But we have really good. Matter of fact, he bashes Governor Whitmer and.
What?
Yeah. We have good conversations, but it's a healthy banter, so it's still love at the end of the day.
Is it? So
Yeah,
do you empathize?
I do. On some issues, it's healthy. We go back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, my family does that. I mean, my adoptive family, we're not all that close. And one of the reasons that we don't speak anymore is because of the whole Trump thing.
Really? To the point of not talking? Oh, no.
Listen, my uncle, who was married to my adopted mother's sister, and he's kind of a dick chick anyway. I'm not a fan of him. But these people, I think about like these I don't even want to say middle America because they're farmers, tool and die, west side of Michigan. The furthest they ever go is Ohio, or my grandma thinks Traverse City is another state, to be honest. And I just got done trying to fucking correct her all the time. But one of the things they ignore me, and they always think I'm a little different anyway because I live all the way over here on the east side, and then I'm not white because I was adopted by white people. But my aunt had a black child, or like out of wedlock way back in the day. And I think she's in her early 40s now, but we don't ever really talk about it. But when they started sending me all this Trump stuff all the time, and what's the one, the Alaskan governor, the woman,
Sarah Palin.
Yeah, Sarah Palin. She came to Grand Rapids in a big bus, and my whole entire family packed, what do you call it when you all do the truck with the snacks in the back and barbecue and stuff?
Tailgating.
They tailgated for that bitch's bus. They tailgated for her, that bitch's bus, and I'm just like, what? And they were so excited, and they're excited about her hair and her lipstick color and all of. So that's what I come from. And so, but it took me a long time to get this way. So I bet I'm vocal just enough. But this one particular time, my uncle sent me a picture of two girls. And these are people that, that don't talk about premarital sex, won't have drinks at their daughter's wedding and shit like that. But my uncle sends me a picture of two blonde hoes in flag bikinis playing a song about Trump. And I was just like, I can't anymore. I can't. And we got into it. And I finally told him to go fuck himself. I was like, goodbye. Fuck you. And, And I don't miss them at all. And I don't compromise. And it was like at that time that I'm just not going to compromise on my core fundamental beliefs of humanity just because you're my friend or if we're friends, I feel like, yeah, we can disagree about what's on your pizza. And you can tell me this dress looks like shit on me. But fuck you. If
No
you think
pineapple.
humanity.
We
No.
don't
No
pineapples
pineapple.
on pizza.
But
No.
fuck you if you think drag queens can't read kids' stories at the library.
Right.
Damn it.
Are there any comments that the viewers are leaving us?
I don't know. Precious is watching. Thank you, Precious. She said it's a dope conversation.
That's what's up.
Thank you so much. If she really likes Matt's comment, if they're on TV a lot, they're not doing anything.
Right.
Matt, that's a great. I'm gonna use that one for sure. But yeah, I just feel like I'm 53 years old at this point in my life. What's going to significantly change? I just want to be intentional about who I am. So anyway, we're going to go to break, but we'll be back in just a jiffy. Thank you so much for watching. So share on your social media. We're back. Welcome, our community, our conversation, and the 5Fs to Love Network. Got it this time. So I'm here with my awesome co-host guys, Scotty, Dr. K, and Matt, who is a special lobbyist from our state capital. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. So from your perspective, is the LGBTQ community a major player in the politics across the country? I know Pete Buttigieg kind of started it, but we have our own Dana Nessel. Matt, would you like to kick us off on that one?
Sure. I think they're a player. I think, there's the saying that all politics is local. And depending on where you are, they're a major player. And some places where you are, they're not so major. And so I think part of it is where you live. They can be a major player or not. But I think we are seeing on the national stage more and more of an influence and more becoming a bigger player in the politics across the country. And and the one thing I can guarantee to everybody is that they will become a major player more and more every year, because in my lifetime they have. If you look at if we asked this question 20 years ago, it'd be a different answer than it is today. And 20 years from now, I don't think anybody would doubt that they will be a major player because of where the country's going. It's an inevitable movement that our country is becoming more open to all different people of races and backgrounds and social status. And so I think it's just a matter of time, but it just depends on where you are in the country, at least I feel, of how big of a player they are. But yeah, we've made major strides. And as Jessie mentioned, we have more openly gay legislators than we have ever had in this country.
Yeah. Scotty, what do you think?
I agree. I mean, I think we weren't a player at all before. Are we a major player now? I wouldn't say major, but definitely a player. But I think that's in all walks of life, in any profession, whether it's in professional sports, whether it's in the business world, whether it's in, you know, my profession. I think, you know, LGBTQ people are much more prevalent than they ever have been. And I think we're much more accepted than we were 20 years ago, right?
Would you run for office? Because you certainly have the look for it. How hot would that be?
No politics for me.
Are you
Politics,
sure?
no.
Dang.
I mean,
Well, I do have some pictures of you.
well, but
I do.
you know, I think we have a long way to go, but I think we're getting there. To your point, Matt, definitely more
Yeah.
than
And
we were 20 years ago.
Yeah. Would you run for office, Dr. K?
Oh, I couldnn run for office.
Why? Tell us.
What are the
Give us
stories
the
about
deep
that?
honey.
It was smear me. Too much
you-
stuff out. Too much
I think
stuff.
about it.
But
I was
I'm
at,
looking like look at the young guy, the social influencer, Christian Walker.
who's that?
Herschel
How do I know?
Walker's son.
Oh, Herschel. Oh, you're right. Oh,
Oh.
that boy be on
He's
fleek on TikTok.
Republican. He is just out there. Twirling and streamers.
Or Herschel Walker ran. I mean, that should prove that anybody can.
Anybody
Anybody,
can run.
right.
So, you know,
Yeah.
I think that's one thing people get lost in this is that elected officials are just people like you and me.
George Santos ran. You're right. Anybody.
George Santos ran with a completely made up biography.
What?
So, you know, anybody
Did you
can run,
see-
and even their
Did you
alter
see
ego.
they
I
found
guess.
him in drag? Did you see that?
Yes. And
Yes.
he tried to say it wasn't him. And we're
He
like,
said-
oh, bitch,
he
we
said,
see
can
you.
I just have a little Halloween?
Yes, if that's all it was, and that was the only thing it was. The
Oh
problem,
my God. And he was
I
so
would
good.
love it. It's,
I was like, yeah.
drag is not a problem.
Yeah, drag is definitely not the problem. Oh my gosh. I forgot about that. Him just talking about him just playing in Halloween.
It's
Oh
when you
my
say I've
gosh.
never done drag, and then you've done.
And then yeah.
Well, it's funny. I was at dinner last night, and you know, in the city that I'm in, where my loft is, there's always scandalous conversations about the politics because they're always fucking up and doing dumb shit. And sometimes people will come up and it's like the number 4 watched municipality in the country or something because they clown so much. And we were talking about it. I was like, I might just run next time. And then I thought about all these things they could say about me. With their pictures, all the things. And then it's 2023. If George Santos can lie and win, I feel like I might just do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I might be calling you guys up for help.
I wonder if he's gonna have any like repercussions for those lies. Like it doesn't seem like to me that his Republican base is still they're backing him.
Like Herschel Walker. What? What?
How does
It's
that
just-
happen? That's what I don't understand.
Well, that brings me to my other question. I hope Christian doesn't get mad at me because I'm jumping questions. We had a whole lineup and I'm all excited and jacked up from drinking this rosé, that I've just
Let the
jumping
rose
around.
speak. Let
Yeah,
the rose
Let the
Go
rosé
with it then.
speak. So, do you think, what do you guys think about, I think that whole racial differential, right? And I think Republicans sometimes use dumb, susceptible Black folks to be their mouthpieces on things. What's their name? One of them, there's that Star and Precious or something. I forgot those girls' names. But
one of them just died.
Candace
She
Owens-
just died.
Yeah, she just died. And Trump went to her funeral and said some dumb shit.
Was it
And he
Sugar
just-
and Spice?
Huh?
What
Sugar,
was it?
yeah. Spice? Is it Sugar? I
Matt,
forgot
you
her
know who
name.
we're talking about?
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah. I don't know what their actual names
You gotta
are.
see this. You gotta see this video.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. The ladies died.
But they
gone.
are like the most ignorant people you can select.
Yeah, and there's Black folks that there's been records of Black folks getting paid $100 to wear mega hats and things like that. And we as a Black community, I'm just like, oh. It's like whenever somebody says an Asian woman is a bad driver, I'm also why you know? But it just so what do you guys think about what is it just because they're stupid? Is it? Candace Owens not stupid. I feel like that bitch is working on her
I
fucking
think
brand.
she's very intelligent.
Yeah, she just
Well,
said, let me
He's
take this
very
money.
intelligent.
Let me marry this white boy. And no, nothing against a white boy, because say hi, honey. I see him walking around back there.
I don't
Nothing
know.
against.
I don't know what her
Yeah.
background is, but in my experience, people that say these things, it is ignorance in the way of they don't have experience, or they don't have relationships with people of certain diverse backgrounds, and maybe they've just been not exposed to that over time and don't know how to address things correctly. But that has been my experience, is that most things come out of ignorance. Not to say there aren't some people out there that are just hateful. I mean, because there are, but my experience is the majority of people, it's just ignorance. Like I mentioned before, in the area I grew up in, most of the dumb things people said to me, and they're not celebrities, and they're not, is purely because they just haven't had those experiences. Some of them have never left their small town. They don't venture out into the world much. They are afraid to drive to the closest big city. They think crime's rampant and stuff. They don't understand that there's as much crime probably per capita in their small town as there is in the major city. It just doesn't make the news. But it kind of does, because if there's one break-in in town and there's like 400 people in town, you're like, wow, that's one break-in for every 400 people. Like that's worse than any other big city out there. So, I think most of this is just people's experiences and not, and you know what? My bigger problem with that is that they should go out and get those experiences before they go and talk about it. If they don't have experience with the gay population or the black population and stuff, you know what? Stop shielding yourself from it and go out and experience it. And then you can come back and talk credibly about it. But,
and that's the thing, is I think at the end of the day, we're all at the base of everything is our humanity, right? I mean, gay people go to the grocery store, gay people do laundry, gay people cook food, and trans people do all of those things too. And that's a whole nother conversation. And I want to kind of get into that. I know she's probably going to kill me about jumping around these conversations, but what do you guys think about the whole trans community and the whole, Caitlyn Jenner, that bitch, all the things that she went through, and now she's out there talking about, like, contradicting herself left and right. Scotty, do you have a view on that one?
I'm not a fan in general of
Caitlyn Jenner.
Of her. Yeah, I just don't understand when people go through things like that, like she's gone through, and what that means, in the community, and then stands up and says things that make absolutely no sense. I don't understand. Yeah. I don't get it. And supports people that don't support what she's gone through, right?
Yeah, that's like a privilege at its core, right?
And she's got a platform and does it.
Yeah, where she could really speak up for the entire community.
Right.
Yes. So to me, that seems like more of a social economic difference. Like going through that, but having the means they have is different than someone going through it that probably doesn't have the means. And
that has to sell blowjobs on fucking Woodward for that shit.
That's a good point.
I mean, I'm sorry to be so crass.
But, that's a completely different experience based more on income than on anything else.
And Kairi, what do you think? Do you hate Caitlyn too? Tell us you hate Caitlyn Jenner, damn it.
Well, I will say this. I'm not too familiar with her rhetoric. I don't watch.
Yeah, she just basically.
I wouldn't pay attention to her.
She's a non-issue for Kairi.
Right.
Yeah,
but I only say that because a lot of times, people, in order to stay relevant, they have to be controversial. They have to poke the bear. If you weren't poking the bear and bothering somebody or doing something to make somebody angry, you're not relevant because you don't have anything going on. Caitlyn transferred. She changed, and then after that, okay, your story was written and you're done. So now I think she may be doing other things
just to get attention.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole family. I mean, I have other things to say about that other than all their fabulous hair, but yeah, I just think it just.
Candace Owens is the same way. If you weren't poking the bear, what's your relevancy?
Yeah, that's so many that's a whole nother thing too. That brings me back to the whole Candace Owen thing too, right? I think she stays relevant by being controversial, and she gets paid to be controversial. And like the vehemence that she does it, I can't imagine she truly feels it. It's just like, what?
When I listen to her, I don't get it. It just, something's
Right.
wrong.
I think that transfers to politics too, though, because politicians do the same thing.
Do
whether
they?
you're a reality TV star
Yes.
or a politician, they do the same thing. So when you talk about the Florida law and the Florida thing they're doing in Florida, isn't this Ron DeSantis just poking the bear, trying to stay in the news, stay newsworthy constantly? I mean, that's part of politics too. I hate to say that reality TV stars and politicians have that much in common, but you know what? Some of them do.
They kind of are.
And so, you want to stay relevant and you want to stay in the headlines. And so you introduce,
controversy.
Right. Yeah, controversial issues.
Right.
And you go after it.
And say something that completely contradicts what you just said last week, right? That's what they do.
We've seen plenty of that in the last 8 years.
Yeah, right. It's just craziness. So now moving forward, like, do you think that you'll be more vocal as the time goes on? Like those, I asked Scotty and Dr. K, because you guys are I didn't realize you guys were this moderate or conservative. Scotty, I kind of knew a little bit, but Dr. K.
It just it depends on. I'm issue specific. It just depends on the issue for me.
Yeah.
What will you go to fight a bitch on a mat for? If you were a state senator, what would you go to the mat for?
Gay marriage. Somebody defending gay marriage.
Yeah. For Kairi and I to have the same rights as everybody else.
You're right. Yeah.
Every time.
But for what
and then sub issues
about
like the whole drag queen stuff. Yes, I care about it, but I'm not. It's not something that I'm.
It's not a big deal to me. Like,
not.
Don't send your kid. Don't let your kid go if you don't want the kid hearing the story.
I don't think it's terrible that it happens. I don't think it's necessarily tragic that you might not want your kid to go. Fine, they don't have to go. But also, I think it should be allowed to happen at the same time.
And there shouldn't be like gun violence over it, right? It shouldn't be in the same topic as gun violence, because sometimes they put it there.
Like the don't say gay law. To me, it's like, okay. In school, I was reading math. This
is true. I think we have a break coming up in a second.
We didn't have time for that.
Yeah. So we'll catch this next break, and we'll be back in a few minutes. I have Scotty, Dr. K, and Matt. Thank you guys for being here. I'm so excited that this is my first one. Whoop, whoop. So here comes a commercial.
My business. 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 My business, my business, my business, my business, my business.
Yeah, what's up with it? Do it cause I love it and I stuck with it. We ain't with the subbing in the cut with it. Please none of the talks, I heard enough of it. Like, what you gonna do? Where you at? Who you with? You ain't really about this, don't talk about it. Really on the move, on the map, never slip. Keep your hands to your lips, don't talk about it. Real eyes, real lies all the time. Stand on it, if we said it, we don't walk around it. Loose lips, sink ships, red cup, blue strips, new phone, who this? No, we don't allow it. Really really on go. I don't know what's an off day. Now we on road, came from smoking in the hallway. Now we got shows, boys feeling like Broadway. Always look both ways, even on a crossway. Driving down Cross Bay, out town Barclays. Really on big things, came up a small way. Championship rings, baby, that's a ball game. Oh, she want a little bag, baby, that's small change. Yeah, that money talk. If we ain't cool, then cut me off. No breaking news, don't run your mouth. Thought it was the plug, now he running off. Thought it was a plug, now he running off. What you gonna do? Where you at? Who you with? You ain't really about this. Don't talk about it. Really on the move, on the map.
Welcome back, our community, our conversation, and the 5Fs to Love Network. Thank you all for being here and watching. And please share us on YouTube and all your social media platforms, and follow that. Click that follow button so we can continue to create this content and make it really fabulous and get super scandalous coming up. So I have Dr. K with me, the super buff, handsome doctor. And then I have Scotty, my husband. And then we have Matthew, who is a lobbyist in our state capital. So, guys, and we're at the tail end of the show. I can't believe it went like this, right?
Hey, I got a
kind of
question.
fast.
Hey, Matt, are you allowed to tell, what do you lobby for?
Mostly healthcare issues.
Okay, healthcare issues.
Yeah.
All right.
But I would say there's a big push within politics and lobbying, even within the healthcare issues, dealing with diversity, inclusion, and in disproportionate populations and how it affects them. So, all these issues cross education, healthcare, everything is touched by these issues.
I'm sure.
Even issues you don't think would, they still are. So
do you guys think
people are people?
Yeah. So do you guys think about there's trans, when we talk about protecting trans kids and things like that, and the hormone blockers and stuff? Do you guys have opinions on that? I mean, I know children as young as like 6 that are, I mean, they're not doing hormone blockers, obviously, because they're little, but like their hairstyles change, the kind of clothes they wear, they change their names and things like that. I know a family that has incredible experience with it, and then I know some that don't. So do you guys have opinions on that? Dr. K?
No, only because I don't have one. I don't have.
No, that's fair.
So I don't have an opinion because I respect what anybody does. Like my only example that I reference is Dwayne Wade's child. And I watch how they allow, I can't think of his name, Zendaya?
Yeah, I can't remember either, but they're wonderful with that kid.
Watch, and I only watch on social media from what they show us or what's being presented.
Or Magic Johnson too.
Oh yeah, Magic Johnson's.
I mean, I've met AJ, fabulous. So
I can't really comment on it because it's like if they like it, I love it.
There you go. Scotty?
I just honestly, Jessie, I don't know enough about it. I do sometimes wonder though, when they're so young, like how much do they really know at that point? But I guess you got to let them blossom and let them go through the process on their own. But it's something I don't have any experience with, and I haven't, researched and read a lot about it. So I feel like I can't wait.
I mean, you guys know I have 2 non-binary kids, and my youngest one on a camping trip, and we're playing Cards Against Humanity. I mean, I'm that mom that did that with their kids. The little one was 12, and the question was, "What's the gayest thing ever?" And the kid Jaden was like, "Me." And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, are you coming out of the closet? Are you going to be a lesbian?" I was just like trying to find all the resources and all of that. But so I come from such a different space than most parents. So I'm always fascinated what other people think.
Yeah,
so
I think
Matt,
having kids, I can tell you, I mean, I believe these are decisions between the kids and the parents. At the end of the day,
your kid best.
I mean,
nobody else's business.
When you're trying to legislate these things, they're really hard. I mean, legislating things for kids is very difficult. I mean, at some point, some of these things I've heard are irreversible, so you do need to be careful with that. But it goes along.
Once it shrivels up, it's gone.
Yes,
but they don't start until they're much older.
You'd like you'd like them to wait till they're at least, I would say 16 or something like that,
Yeah.
so that they know for sure. But as my wife always says, these kids, they show the signs and they know early, earlier than the parents. And so I think it all comes down to kind of what we've talked about before, which is parents need to communicate with their kids.
Yeah,
And they need to talk to their kids and be open about it. And I've hardly heard any bad stories from parents who were very open to their kids and talking to their kids about these issues. But I've heard a lot of stories about parents that haven't talked to their kids or are very close-minded. And a lot of those are bad stories, unfortunately. So I think part of it is, you got to have communication with kids. That's the most important thing.
Right. I think we have a commentary. So it says, Precious. Oh, she said this is a great conversation. Thank you so much for watching. She said, I am my own person and do not want to be forced to fall into groups that think that lead to absolutely nowhere, which is true, which is absolutely true. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, we're just I'm so happy we got to do this tonight, you guys. And I know that it's
great conversation, guys.
Yeah, great conversation. The energy was great. And my guys are always amazing. And Matt, you're just fabulous. Thank you so much. It's really cool to have perspective from somebody who actually is on the legislation floor and things like that. I mean, you're around it all the time. So we thank you. So before we go, if you were a politician, what would you be? Scotty, go first.
Well, I'm a Leo, so I'd have to be president.
Damn it! I was gonna do that. All right. I think it's Matt.
I would never run, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
Oh my God!
It takes a certain personality to want to run for office and do that. But I will say this: one thing about politicians, to wrap it up, is that most of the politicians that I've interacted with are all there doing what they feel is best. Very few are really out there doing things to hurt people or anything. Most feel that they're doing what they think is in the best interest of most people. And that's the majority of elected officials. And unfortunately, those are the majority we don't see that often.
Right. Yeah, because they're not as scandalous and entertaining when they're doing the right things, right? Yeah. But thank you for that. And Dr. K, what would you be?
I would be mayor of Southfield.
Okay, honey. Okay.
I grew up in Southfield. Detroit's too big, so I would go back to Southfield.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Southfield.
No, I would go for governor because I want to be Big J.
Oh, yeah.
Big Gretch, Big J, be fabulous, wear leather outfits and stuff. But anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. And I'm really looking forward to next week. We're going to have another special guest from New York City and topics I'll announce later. And we'll look out for you too. I hope you guys can work it out in your schedule. And we're going to be adding different people as we go along and kind of swapping people out because some people are like literally doing surgery, Dr. K, and other people are traveling all over. And we just, it's not good for everybody to be stuck to this every week forever. So I'm really appreciative of you guys being here. And thank you so much. Have a great week. I love you all.
Thanks, Jessie.
See ya.
Nice.
Be nice.
Bye-bye.